Hi friends, let us now do a brief introduction to the Himalayas and also study some of the questions which have been asked in the previous year's question paper. Now the brief introduction to the Himalayas, I mean that how are the Himalayas? The Himalayas are the series of young fold mountains which stretch for over a distance of 2400 kilometers from east to west. If I try to show you a map of India along with the map of the Himalayas, and if I try to show you only the northern part of the India, the Himalayas will look somewhat like this. So the Himalayas will look somewhat like this. The Himalayas are linked to the other mountains of the world from the roof of the world, which is known as Pamir Knot. Why this is known, this Pamir Knot in Tajikistan, or it is known as a roof of the world, because the many mountains originate from this Pamir Knot. The Hindu Kush mountains originate here. The Suleiman ranges of the Pakistan originate from here. The Kunlun mountains originate from here of China. It is known as Kunlun or the Kunlun Shan mountains, and then the Himalayas and the Trans-Himalayas originate in this region. That is, we have the Karakoram ranges in this region, or we have the Trans-Himalayas such as the Karakoram range. We have the Great Himalayas here, or the innermost Himalayas. We have the middle Himalayas in this regions. We have the middle Himalayas here. This middle Himalayas are discontinuous and known by different names. What are the different names? We will study that. And we lastly have the Shivalik ranges in this region. We lastly have the Shivalik ranges, which is more or less a very continuous mountain system, which is broken only at one point by river Tista. Otherwise, this all are the series of discontinuous mountains. So the Great Himalayas are the innermost Himalayas, and they are known by the different names here. So they are known by different names. So what are the Himalayas? Himalayas are the series of young fold mountains which stretch for more than 2400 kilometers over 22 and 22 degree latitude. So stretch for around 2400 kilometers. For along, or we can say along 22 degree north latitude in east-west direction. In east-west direction. The stretch for more or less around 22 or 22 degree north latitude in the east-west direction. The Himalayas are not are somewhat continuous, somewhere they are discontinuous. We will study that factor in the next lecture series when we'll study each and every Himalayas in detail, and at that same time I will tell you important passes, important glaciers, and their importance with relation to the current affairs nowadays. Now the Himalayas are basically divided into the Great Himalayas, Middle Himalayas, and the Shivalik ranges. To the north of the Himalayas there are the bigger mountains. There are the mountains of Karakoram Kailash range, which are known as a Trans-Himalayan ranges. This range are known as an Trans-Himalayan ranges. These are known as the Trans-Himalayas. They all come out from the Pamir Knot, from which the Kunlun mountains, from which the Hindu Kush and the Suleiman range also come out. So these are the Trans-Himalayan ranges. Now you can see here from the diagram itself, the width of the Himalayas is greater in the western part, while the width of the Himalayas is lesser in the eastern part. Then also we can see here the Himalayas take sudden hairpin bend. All the Himalayas take a sudden hairpin bend and they go downwards here. This sudden hairpin bend is represented by Nanga Parbat in the western part, and the eastern part it is represented by Namcha Barwa. In the eastern part it is represented by Namcha Barwa. It is represented by Namcha Barwa in the Arunachal, China, near the Arunachal and China border. Now, so here, this Himalayas take a sudden southward bends near the Namcha Barwa. If I try to show you on the map of India, the Himalayas, after taking the sudden southward bends along the Namcha Barwa, they continue southwards as the eastern Himalayas, and then they disappear into the sea and come out as the peaks of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So Andaman and Nicobar Islands are nothing but the peaks of the mountains of the Himalayas which have come out, not Lakshadweep. Lakshadweep are coral islands, while Andaman and Nicobar Islands are the peaks of the Himalayas which come out. Second thing about the Himalayas, you can see that they are sagging downwards, which I have told you in the previous lecture. They are sagging downwards and they are convex to the south. They are convex to the south, they are sagging downwards, which you can see here in the bigger map, or here you can see in the, you can say magnified view. Now, they have the two hairpin bends here, and this Himalayas you can see are wider in the west while they are narrower in the east. So the second feature of the Himalayas is they are wider in the west while they are more or less narrower in the east. So they are wider in the west, where the width of the Himalayas is somewhere around 400 kilometers, while they are narrow in the east, where the width is somewhere around 150 kilometers. Also, the Himalayas, the eastern Himalayas, that is the Himalayas, the name of the Himalayas after river Teesta, the eastern Himalayas are what we can say more towards the Tropic of Cancer. If this is India, the eastern Himalayas are more towards the Tropic of Cancer. They are more towards the peninsular or near the tropical regions, while the western Himalayas are to the north. So if you are standing here in Delhi, this is exactly where Delhi is. Why? You cannot see the Himalayas because they are very far away from the Great Plains. But exactly at the same latitude from Delhi, you can see the Himalayas right from Sikkim and also from Arunachal Pradesh. So isn't it surprising that the Arunachal Pradesh, which we go for holidays, which is a hill station, is exactly at the same latitude where Delhi is. So the Himalayas are far away from the plain. They are far away from the plains in the western part. While they are nearer to the plains in the eastern part. topography. In between this valley is, between these two mountains is the beautiful valley of Kashmir. There are many hill stations. So this is a ridge and valley topography. Such an appearance is known as an hogback appearance. This is known as an hogback appearance. The Himalayas have an hogback appearance. What is a hog? Hog is a bull. Same like a back of a bull, that is ridge, anticline, syncline. They have ridge and valley topography. In fact, any mountain will be having an hogback appearance. Any mountain will be having an ridge and valley topography. Now later on, what will be the kind of folds? These are the folded mountains. So are the folds symmetrical, asymmetrical? As I told you in the plate tectonics lecture, most in the real world, all the folds are asymmetrical. You won't find a symmetrical fold. Means jahan pe the two limbs of the fold are exactly folded. This doesn't happen. The Himalayas are an example of an asymmetrical folds. These are asymmetrical folds. These are an example of an asymmetrical fold. So this was an introduction to the Himalayas. So how are the Himalayas? They are divided into the Great, Middle and the Shivalik ranges. You can see there are hairpin bends. Jahan se to the north of this hairpin bend, river Indus suddenly enters the plains, and to the north of this hairpin bend, river Brahmaputra suddenly enters India. These are known as a syntaxial bend in the Himalayas. Which are, what are they known as? A syntaxial bend. We have done that in the previous lecture. Then this syntaxial bends in the Himalayas is represented by river Indus suddenly taking southward turn and river Brahmaputra suddenly taking southward turn to enter India in this region as the Hang river, and then entering the plains as the Brahmaputra river system. So this is the syntaxial bend. The syntaxial bend are represented by Nanga Parvat in the east, in the west, and the Namcha Barwa in the east. The Himalayas are wider in the western part, while they are very close in the eastern part. They are more close to the plains and more close to the Tropic of Cancer in the eastern part, while they are far away from the plains and far away from the Tropic of Cancer in the eastern part. Iska application we will see in the Himalayan ranges. So temperate evergreen forest here, temperate forest in this region, not evergreen, temperate forest in this region, mixture of tropical temperate tundra forest in the eastern Himalayas. Then iska application, how the questions come in your preliminary examination. Then later on, the Himalayas are very far away from the plains, and therefore from Delhi we cannot see any Himalayas, but at the same latitude we can see the Himalayas rightly rising as a majestic mountain from Gangtok in Sikkim or anywhere from Arunachal Pradesh. So this is all about the introduction of Himalayas. Let us study the individual Himalayas in detail from the next lecture. Meet you again. Thank you very much.